And welcome into In-Game Chat for Saturday, August the 3rd, 2024. It is Season 18, Episode 27 here. I'm Scott.
And I'm RJ.
Welcome into the show, everybody. If you want to get in touch with us, you can. Just reach out to our Discord. You can also reach out on email, everyone at ingamechat.net. We're on Facebook. We're all over the place. Twitch right now. In fact, we got people in Twitch. We got AC Wraith, Lethal Migraine, Bama Brian so far. And there's probably more. That's just me looking at people who have already kicked off the chatterboxing going on in there. But yeah, so plenty of ways to find us. Twitch.tv is the website you can go to and type in our show name, In-Game Chat, and you'll be able to find us, watch us live while we broadcast. And join in the chat room, too. Discord, if you go to our website, ingamechat.net, you'll have links to the Twitch site. You'll have links to Discord there where you can join in and talk to us as well. So, yeah, why not? Let me do this thing here. Get this out of the way for us to mark our marker. Yeah. Anyway, welcome in to the show, everybody. What is a Deadpool helmet, Bama Brian? Bama Brian says he's printing a Deadpool helmet. You're talking about, like, the hood, the mask, the thing, or a helmet? I'm not sure.
Sounds like out of the full face mask or something like the Red Hood.
Yeah, I'm wondering. He says it's going to take 18 hours to print, so, you know, that Discord where you throw up all your other stuff that you've been doing, throw that up there too. And let us see it. Lethal Migraine says Deadpool Wolverine is absolutely phenomenal. Easily the best movie Marvel has ever put its name on. And Batman Brian does confirm that yes, that is exactly what he was talking about.
Full helmet, okay.
The full mask, the full hood type thing.
Yeah. Want to see pics next time?
I'm guessing it's printing out in white, and then he's got to go through and he's got to paint it or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know how that 3D printing works. I don't have one of those things, although I kind of want one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Earlier, whatever, months and months, whatever. The longest time I wanted them to print out Destiny guns. Mm-hmm. Now I don't want to do that.
No other game with any iconic items that you want to print
absolutely.
out?
I would look into the Myst Riven, my puzzle game type things. I would look into those to make something out of. What else would I do? What's another game of mine that I am absolutely bonkers over?
Is there a certain vehicle you like in Burnout?
See, no. Burnout, I just like the wrecks and stuff like that. That's the only reason I like Burnout.
The wrecks.
The speed, the wrecks, that sort of thing. Because I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
Because Burnout used to have it was either Burnout 3 or Burnout Revenge. They had trophies. Like, when you got whatever, or when you did a certain, like if you hit a ramp and you crashed on top of a car, that was like a air attack takedown is what it was called.
Yeah.
And if you did like a certain number of those, you'd get it'd show a little trophy that you could 3D, you could spin around in 3D kind of look at. Mm-hmm. Something that was kind of interesting like that. But I'm trying to think.
Drunk Degenerate says, get your Balatro cards printed.
Yeah, I mean, Balatro would be cool. I mean, a whole deck of Balatro cards just to do that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
The home game would be an interesting thing. But I'm trying to think. I feel like there's a game that I'm not thinking of.
A huge Tetris block.
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man, okay.
Legit would print out some Pac-Man and some Pac-Men. I don't know.
Ghosts.
I would legit print out Pac-Man and Ghosts and maybe a pellet or two just as, a display. Sure. Why not?
Dig Dug, Figar, and Puka.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. Would you print them out pixelated, or would you print them out, smoothed over or whatever? I don't know how you.
I probably use something based on the artwork from the game itself,
from the arcade cabinet,
the arcade cabinet, or the artwork they used beforehand, something like that.
Yeah, that's good.
Pull something from there.
Yeah, that's a good thing there.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
I mean, all you need is the machine itself and the filaments and the material that you would print it out in.
Still feel like there's a game I'm missing. I don't know why, but I still feel like there's a game that I just adore. And
something from pinball, maybe.
See, I was thinking pinball too, but I was like, no, I'm not going to print out a 3D pinball. I can just buy a pinball. There's no point in printing out a 3D pinball or do a 3D printing of a pinball.
Yeah, go to Home Depot, get some big ball bearings or something.
Right.
Like
I mean,
that.
those little things I can just pick up in parts stores or something like that if I really want something that pulls that in. I don't know. I really have to think about it.
Yeah.
And maybe I've already thought about it. See, I would go with Soul Reaver, like Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, the Soul Reaver sword, but I already have one of those.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure what I would print out from that line.
Or the statues we've gotten from the collector's items over the years.
Which I already have the statues, so it's like, I don't know how I would do it. So yeah, I print Marvel Snap cards. Not enough filament in the world to get through all of those. I like that though, and I've been so just to get into what we've been playing. I'll go first because it ain't much. Marvel Snap. That's all I've been playing. This Deadpool Diner thing that they've been running, which ends Tuesday, has been a grind to go through. A massive, massive grind to go through. In fact, last night, I got to 15 million, which finally unlocked the card that I was aiming for. Now, the question is, do I want to keep going? Because the variant of that card is at the top of the rank, and that's 500 million. And I'm at 15. They say it goes a lot quicker once you pass the 30 million mark.
They say that.
They say that because once you pass the 30 million mark, you get an upgrade. And that upgrade replenishes your, for lack of a better term, gambling chips, replenishes your chips at something, I don't know how many an hour, up to something like a good mini million. And I'm not sure exactly. But to get that many replenished, it's a big number. It's like 10 million or something, the gambling tokens or whatever. Once you get to that one that upgrades it, you can start playing on the higher tiers and kind of just rolling all in when you do it, because it replenishes so much every hour. You can just wait an hour, go back in, do it again. Wait an hour, go back in, do it again. And if you land on one of these, if you play a game that actually really goes the distance with your bets back and forth, one game is going to get you way up the rank. One win will get you way up the rank. A loss doesn't knock you back down. You never lose rank. You only increase. So even if you lose, all you lose are tokens to wager with. But your ranking doesn't drop. It just stays where it's at. If you win, your tokens, your gambling chips increase, but your ranking increases as well. So that's how it's been. Anyway, I've been playing on, for lack of a better term, I've been playing on the poker table that allows you to buy in at 2 levels down from what I'm allowed. In other words, I'm allowed to play at the table that says I've got this many chips, but I play 2 levels under that. It allows me to be a little bit more loose with my bets. I'm not risking as much. I'm also not gaining as much, but it's a slow climb. But that's the whole point, because when I can double that, then I can move up to the next one and start going there. But if I can hit that 30 million to get that upgrade, I might can do it before Tuesday. And so to add on to that, by the way, tomorrow, I do plan to stream Marvel Snap. I will be basically marathoning it, which is what I've been doing. However, I've been playing with a certain deck. There's a lot of. Honestly, it's a lot of not superstition. What's the better word? Strategy. The strategy is when you find a deck that you enjoy playing, or that stick with that deck. Don't be jumping around like, oh, I lost with this deck, let me try a different deck. Don't do that. Stay with your deck.
Show a little consistency in that one. Yeah.
Right, because the more you play it, and this is absolutely, as much as I hate this diner thing that they're doing, it has really, really allowed me to hone my skills on a very specific deck. And also it's gotten me better at the main game itself, which is also sort of a system of betting back and forth between to climb the ladder in the main game. This old Deadpool diner thing was just for the movie release. Just the theme of the month is all it was.
Yeah.
Will they do something like this next month? I don't know. I don't know how well this did. It's also done to completely make money. So understand that too. And if they made bank on this, you bet they'll be doing it again. You can bet they'll be doing it again. So yeah, it's taught me a lot about how to go in on these things. Like, it's taught me a lot. I can look at the current deck that I'm playing. I can look at that deck and I can know pretty easily into the game, pretty early into the match. Like, all right, I might be pretty good. Once I see all the locations and kind of get an idea of what they're playing, I have a good idea of what they're playing and a good idea of how to combat that, or if I even can. Mm-hmm. Depending on what I draw, what the locations are for me to play the cards on. So, I don't know. It's taught me a lot while I'm doing it, but I've been grinding this thing since they started it over a week ago, and I just got to the 15 million mark out of 500 million. And it got me the card I wanted. Mm-hmm. The only thing that's left is to get the variant of that card if I want that. I don't know that I do, but you know what? We'll try it out. We'll see. Because if I can knock myself up there, then we'll see how it goes once I get to that chip increase status. So, yeah. Anyway, I plan to do that tomorrow. The deck that I've been using, if anybody cares, it's what's called a clog deck. Basically, they are cards that fill up the lanes of your opponent. Mm-hmm. Because each lane, there's 3 lanes. Each lane holds 4 cards. So if I can somehow reduce the amount of space they have to play cards, it benefits me. Mm-hmm. So it's a clog deck. It clogs lanes. So that's the kind of deck I'm playing. So yeah, I did that so much this past week. I did a lot of it last night. It's kind of a zoning thing, but at the same time, it's like I said, it's amazing what I've learned as I played it. Mm-hmm. How it's going to sound weird, but how you become one with the deck, Well,
just familiarity with the deck.
It really is.
With the consistency you've been showing with that clog deck, yeah. You know more of what to do, when to do it,
right,
and how to maximize your chances of better results.
Yeah, you can. And there's some decks that I can't even face, and a lot of this I'll go over when I stream tomorrow. But the Arisham deck that puts, you already have a deck of 12 cards, I think. Yeah, you already have your deck is built of 12 cards already. If you put Arisham in your deck as one of those 12. It adds 10, 11, or 12 more cards to your deck, random. You can't see them. You don't know what you got until, you play the game and it just starts throwing in cards. Mm-hmm. But that's a tough deck to play against because not only do they not know what they have, you have no idea because they are just throwing down random cards. Like if somebody has a destroy deck, you know the cards that are coming in. These are cards that destroy their other cards, but also increases their power in each lane as they do it. Mm-hmm. There are move decks where you play cards that are able to move cards from lane to lane, and as they do, they gain power. You can see that coming. Arisham, just here, throw the coin in the air and see what happens. Mm-hmm. You don't know.
So the RNG deck.
It is very much an RNG deck. However, it worked for me a lot as I was playing this game. As I was moving up the ranks, it worked for me a lot up until I got to a certain rank and a certain amount of time too, because the card that is on this ranking system, the card that I got just recently, the one that I was battling for, the power of that card is 3. If I can play that on turn 3, and it takes 1 point off of every card in your opponent's deck. So if somebody's playing that Arsham deck that has 20 some odd cards in their deck, it removes a point off of all of them, and you play a turn 3 card that has like 27 power. It's massive. It's also risky to do because there are cards that can destroy that if they need to, but it's one of those situations. So I had to stop that and actually go back down to a...
It sounds like a situation I've had in Balatro plenty of times with a certain Joker, the misprint Joker. Mm-hmm. You ever had that one?
You'd have to tell me. I'm sure I did.
It's the card that
is it random, something random?
It's a malformed Joker card, but it gives you a random multiplier.
Right.
It's a misprinted multiplier.
Right. So sometimes you get nothing. Sometimes you get 1. Sometimes you get 6.
Sometimes 21.
Right. Yeah.
19 up there in the areas, but
I remember that card.
Yeah. After a certain point, like you had with your card, after a certain point, the benefits
it negates itself.
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore.
Right.
So when about ante 6 out of 8, 7 or 8. I'm start seeing 1s and 2s instead of the 18s and 21s I had in the previous antes.
And not only that, you're likely coming across better Joker cards in the store that would work better than this random, I don't know what it's going to land on, Yeah. It's a good card to have at the beginning. Mm-hmm. The Joker card you're talking about. I remember that.
The misprint.
Yeah. Lethal Migraine says, apparently I need to risk more. I'm not climbing fast enough, especially if it ends Tuesday. I don't know what level you're at. I don't know where you're at on the ranking system, but it's tough. If you've gotten enough to where it refills up to, I don't know how much it refills. Usually at the lower end, before you go to bed at night, if you've got something that refills over time, before you go to bed, do the highest tier you can and go all in. If they back out, hey, if they retreat, then you got a bump. If they didn't, put the game down, go to sleep, and you'll come back to having a bunch of tokens to wager in the morning. So, but that's what I've been playing. I've been playing Spiritfarer. What did I tried out Hades today. I haven't really, I put so little time into that today. Hades was one, and then I feel like there was another one that I thought I would give a go at. I don't know. Anyway, it's mostly been Snap. What have you been playing?
I'm still playing MLB The Show 23.
Yeah.
I've got a franchise mode going on. I'm just at the start of the season, so I'm doing pretty well in that. Still got to work on hitting more than anything else. It's just getting the it's not the timing that's an issue. It's like getting the location to line up properly with where the ball is going to be, especially on pitches that are breaking a lot. Yeah. It's just a matter of practice that I got to work on in that. Pitching is fine, though. I mean, I'm pretty much used to the pitching and getting the ball where I want it to go with the roster that I have. So pitching is fine. The defense is okay, but it's just the hitting, getting my offense going. That's the big issue right now. But given time, I'll work on that and get better at it. The Division 2, for the most part. I've been playing with some friends online. We went to the Summit on that mission. Basically the tower, 100-floor tower, and every 10th floor you get a boss battle that drops some pretty good equipment. So I've been doing the replay ability on the 10th floor to get the boss to get the most efficient way of getting equipment and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But buddy of mine who was playing didn't get to floor 10 yet, so I helped him get up there. And the feature of the summit that's really good is that you can pick which type of gear or equipment that falls more frequently than not. So he was looking for marksman's rifles. I was looking for a certain set of armor. So I set it on mine. He set it on his. We went up the tower, went up 10 floors, and I got pretty much everything I wanted. He got some things he wanted, and I told him, just run it back again whenever you feel like it. Just adjust the difficulty as needed if you're solo or with somebody. Because we tried it on, it wasn't heroic, because heroic we'd be killed immediately. I think it was the one after hard. I forget the one. It's the one after hard difficulty. I forget what it's called.
Man, it's been so long since I've played it. I have no idea.
No, it may be heroic. I think the most highest difficulty is legendary. We may have been on heroic, basically the three bar rank, whatever it is. So,
sounds like you're talking about Nightfall difficulty from Destiny.
But yeah,
heroic, legendary, and then Grandmaster.
Yeah, but we get there, we start playing, we had a good run. We get to like levels floor 6 and 7, and then the enemies are generated randomly. So they have a bunch of different abilities and tactics and gear and things like that. So we had some difficulty on a few floors, but we got through it pretty much okay. And if he wants to do it again, I'm ready to join up with him. And he can do it solo if he wants to, because I've been doing it solo sometimes, and I've been able to get a lot of really good stuff out of there. Problem is, of course, the higher the difficulty, the better the gear is. And I'm telling you, man, no matter how much armor or anything you max out with, 1 or 2 good hits, and you are calling for help. So you got to be real careful the higher the difficulty is. So that's pretty much what I've been playing all this week.
Yeah. Lethal Migrant says double XP weekend and then will be the show.
Mm-hmm.
So
24.
I'm guessing
24. Yeah, that happens sometimes. Double XP weekend. So yeah. So plenty of opportunity to build up your points and get those extra decks. Build up your roster online. Yeah.
Speaking of decks again, you bring that up. The Marvel Snap thing. It's also the end of the month, which means also tomorrow while I'm streaming, I'm going to go through all of my missions and bounties and everything else, and clear all of those off, and then go through my levels and see what I got out of everything. And kind of, it's an interesting thing that I do at the end of the month or the end of a season. You won't be able to see this, but you'll see it tomorrow in the stream. But I don't, outside of my daily bounties, there are weekly bounties as well. And the weekly bounties, I don't ever claim until the end of the month. Doesn't matter. There's nothing beneficial to do it, except for that wonderful feeling of clicking a button and getting rewarded. Right? That wonderful feeling of, what is it? That drip feed of not serotonin, but whatever it is, where it's like, click, 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 and then you just see your bar, your level bar increase. It just keeps doing that.
Free stuff.
I know that's all it's there for. And so yeah, you'll be able to watch me do that tomorrow as well, while I'm doing this. So yeah, I'll be streaming that. I'll be streaming that tomorrow. Again, a heads up on this. I don't know how entertaining I'll be able to make it. But it's going to be a grind session. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be seeing me mainly play the same deck over and over and over again. Now, there are a few decks that I have to play just because there's some missions that require using certain cards. And I will do those. In fact, I've deliberately not played it today because I didn't want to worry with any of that. I tested the deck this morning. I was like, ooh, this is good. This is really good. I like this.
So the things I can do with this deck.
I know. It was really, really good. So yeah, I'm kind of excited to get back into it and play it. It's good for your normal climb. I don't necessarily think it's going to be good for. It might be good for the Deadpool thing. That may be something that I play, but right now I'm gonna stick with my clog deck. And see how that goes. Which I know none of this really makes sense. But if you watch the stream tomorrow, it'll be on this Twitch channel if you're watching it right now. But if you watch the stream tomorrow, I'll give you a really good explanation of exactly what it is these cards are doing and what I'm doing with them as I'm going through it. So yeah, Snap's not necessarily something that I would recommend to everybody. It can be fun if you allow it to be fun, and it can also be frustrating if you allow it to be frustrating. And maybe that just sounds like a well, duh, type of a thing. Well, of course, that makes sense. It can be that way. Yeah. If you just allow it to frustrate you, then it's gonna. It will take that hold on you. Honestly, it doesn't. I've never seen it get me as frustrated as it has with this stupid betting diner system that they're doing. Because all I wanted was the card. However, now that I made there, I'm like, let's see if I can go higher. Let's see if I can do better. So I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll see. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to, jump into some of the news. It is no Magic the Gathering, by the way, Bama Brian. In fact, I don't play card games except for this. And when I mean card games, I don't mean like Balatro. I don't mean like Inscription or something like that. I'm talking about like your Magic and what I guess used to be Pokemon. Wasn't Pokemon a card game? Yeah. Pokemon. Cards in it, right? Yeah. Your Magic, your Pokemon, your I don't know, whatever is all over in them places in like Target and Walmart where they have those cards. The battling card system. I never got into those. Mm-hmm. For some reason, this worked for me. Marvel Snap did. It's probably a familiarity with the characters. Yeah. The character abilities of these cards sort of mimic their abilities as characters in the comic. Mm-hmm. So
a little authenticity.
Well, and it also gives it a little bit of, for me, it gives a little bit better understanding. Yeah. Why does it do? Oh, well, it's because, why does Spider-Man, when I play the Spider-Man card, for instance, mm-hmm. when I play him in a lane, his ability is to hop out of that lane and go to another lane. And then when he gets there, he will pull an enemy card from another lane over there to that lane as well, mm-hmm. where he's at. Spider-Man, that makes sense. He'll swing around, pull somebody over. That's great. Juggernaut, if they play a card and I play the Juggernaut, he smashes their card into a different lane. He moves them out of the way. Mm-hmm. Makes sense, I'm trying to think of somebody else. There's some of them that have no abilities whatsoever. Quicksilver. He's a low cost, low power card. He costs 1 to play, and you get 2 power off of him. That's all he does, though. There's nothing else. He has no power. I mean, no like super ability, whatever. He's not there. He's an easy 1 play, So, yeah. Venom. When you play Venom, whatever cards you have in that lane, he will consume them. So it will free up space in that lane, and all the points that those other cards had that he consumed go into him. Mm-hmm. So he becomes a bigger card, and now you've got more room to play other cards. So yeah, I mean, they kind of reflect who they are. Wolverine can't die. I'm not kidding. Yeah. If a card tries to destroy him, he will be destroyed and then regenerate into a different lane with +2 power every time he dies. Mm-hmm. Deadpool, same thing. If he's destroyed, his power gets doubled and his card goes back into your hand to play again. He doesn't die. So.
Yeah, it fits.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of sits with the powers and that sort of thing. So anyway, AC Wraith, quick to play. That's the power. He's just zip right in there. So anyway, we'll go over that stuff tomorrow. Here's music from a game called Cryptmaster, which, by the way, if you haven't played Cryptmaster or you don't know what Cryptmaster is, look it up on Steam, look it up on YouTube, and look at Cryptmaster. This is a fun little word game that is legitimately fun to spell things. It really, really is. And the Cryptmaster himself, quite humorous, very funny. Good writing on this guy. Good voice acting on the guy, too. Anyway, we'll be back with more. This is the theme from that. We'll be back with more of In-Game Chat right after this. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. By the way, you picking me up all right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Headphone issue during the break there. Some of you may recognize this music. It's been a long time since I've heard it. In fact, 16 years since I've heard it. This is a track called Downstream from the game Braid. It recently had a remaster that came out just last month. Fully repainted artwork, new puzzles, actually commentary in the game. It was on all the systems from PC to Switch to PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, Android, iOS as well. And if you had Netflix, you got this for free. It was the anniversary edition. Or, I'm sorry, the anniversary remastered edition, whatever. However, the creator says it is sold like dog, stuff. He said it sold horribly, and he has indicated he is now struggling to employ staff full-time because of it. But yeah, it did not do well. And really, that's all I have on that story, because I just scrolled through it. Oh, wait, never mind. Here it is. He published commentary made during a number of live streams the month since lost, while Blow fails to... The guy who created is Jonathan Blow. While Blow fails to confirm a sales figure, the picture he paints here is clear. Braid has flopped. In one stream dated June 17th, Blow said that Braid Anniversary Edition has sold horribly. It is sold like, dog crap compared to what we need to make for the company to survive. So the future is uncertain. Let's put it that way, is what he said. Then on July 21st, he was asked again about the sales. He said, no, they've been terrible. Utterly, utterly terrible. In another stream on July 22nd, he said that releasing it on so many platforms made a difference, but the problem is most of those platforms are dead now. Steam is easily our biggest platform, he continued. There would have been something to be said for just not porting it to half of those platforms. It really is interesting. It's a really interesting thing that we did. We did a commentary in a way that nobody's ever done it, which I'm kind of curious as to how that works, or what he means by that. And at some point, you just have to know that what you did was a good thing, even if the world doesn't really acknowledge it. And this is one of those cases, I think. Then on July 27th, he once again addressed the Braid Anniversary Edition sales, but this time cast doubt on his company's ability to employ staff, responding to a question on how many people at his company were working full-time. He said none, because we can't afford to pay anyone because the sales are bad. And then he said the whole game industry is having a hard time. Although some have wondered why Braid Anniversary Edition has struggled, he discounted the impact that bringing the game to conventions and putting it in front of people might have had on the success of the game, saying that cons don't really do much to help promote video game. Conventions don't do a lot to help promote video games. He also said promoting the game on podcasts and YouTube interviews wouldn't have helped either. There are others who suggest there was little demand for a Braid remaster in the first place, even though the original is perfectly playable all these years later. So yeah, apparently they're working on some other projects and a unannounced, or including a VR game as well. Braid's not one that I would have. Braid is a game that I enjoyed. I really loved it when it released.
Yeah, looks to be highly rated from what I'm looking at.
Oh
here.
God,
Yeah.
I absolutely adored it when it came out. I love the gameplay mechanic, how time moves when you move, which at that time we didn't have. This was 2008.
Yeah,
that's the birth of this show. We started in February of 2008. So yeah. So when that,
I think it's that latter for the reason, really. I mean, that game was played by a whole lot of folks, was it not? A lot of people played Braid, the original.
Yeah, because it was Xbox Live Arcade.
Yeah, and it's still playable today. And like I said, there was no real reason to have a.
And I have it on PC, but I
mean, what did they add other than commentary? And that's
commentary, and they updated all the art, the music. I say the music's updated. They didn't really do much different to the music, but the actual art is updated. It's a beautiful game.
Yeah.
And when it drops in price, I am certain I will eventually get it.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the commentary that he talks about there. Plus, I haven't played it in probably that long.
Yeah.
I haven't gone back to try and play it again.
Yeah, but did you recall having a desire to play it again?
Not after I finished it, no, because you know what, Braid has, and for anybody who has played it, and anybody who doesn't, well, I'm not going to spoil it here. Even though it's 16 years old,
it's still new to some folks. So,
right?
Yeah.
The whole, I don't want to say the point of the game, but the whole entire game has very spoiler things to be mentioned about it. If I were to, and that was the big talk around it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah.
This is also the same guy that made The Witness. And for those of you who have played The Witness, you might be turned off a little bit if you never played Braid, but you played The Witness, and then you're like, well, I don't want to play Braid. Braid's a completely different game, although there are one or two non-required puzzles. In other words, you don't have to do this to get any more out of the game. Mm-hmm. But there are some puzzles that are just like in The Witness, very obscure, very... There is one where you have to wait a very long time, it seems. And I'm trying to go back and remember. You had to wait for either a certain shape of a cloud to come across the sky in one of the levels. And when it did, you had to do a certain thing. And when that happened, you got some kind of a bonus or something. You got a reward for it. I say it was a cloud or something. I just remember you having to wait. Maybe it was at the title screen and a shooting star goes by or something. I can't remember what it was. But I remember either watching a video about it or I actually did the thing and waited for it to happen. Because back then, man, you bought an Xbox Live Arcade game for how many, and it wasn't money, it was points. Mm-hmm. You used real currency to buy fake currency, and then you spent fake currency like real currency in the shop. Stupid. I don't like games that do that at all. Like, just say that it's this much, we pay it, we get this. Stop it. Stop with the in-game currency and just say it's $5. Do you want it? Okay. Not 500 points. So yeah, it was 800 points. And so when you bought it, you played it and you played it over and over and over again. I mean, obviously, unless you didn't like it. But yeah, you just kept going with it. And it was a lot of fun. It was great. And, yeah, it's something that I probably would revisit. Especially, I looked at the trailer for it. I looked at some I haven't watched any reviews of it. I should probably look at that, but I sometimes I don't feel like I need to watch a review of a remaster because it's like, no, it's just a game. It's just
with the touch up.
They just, yeah. They just
usually a remake
gave it a glow up.
They touch it up a little bit.
Yeah. And that was,
or add a little something extra to it, like the commentary.
Right. Yeah. There, as far as I know, there's
something that makes you want to double dip and buy it again, even though you've had it before, or if you've never been exposed to Braid at all in the first place.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the game. So I hate that happened, that it's not selling well, but I kind of agree with everybody else. Nobody was asking for this. I don't know of a single person who said, you know what, they ought to remake Braid.
You know, plenty of other titles they say they want remastered, but Braid wasn't on the list.
It was never. I just didn't hear a lot of demand for it.
Yeah.
But the thing that gets me is that I don't feel like his team would have done it unless they heard that there was demand for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, why would you go back and put that time and effort into something if nobody was demanding it? Clearly, you went back and you did a lot to it, based on something.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it was, other than maybe it's it's been 16 years. You're doing the 16th anniversary. Why not the 15th? Why not the 20th or the 25th? You know,
10th.
You could have done 10 if you wanted to. Sure,
the 10th would have been.
Well, let's just fine. Instead of splitting hairs, it's the 16th, right? So you should have done it for the 15th anniversary because that was just last year.
Yeah.
My point in that is somebody somewhere saw some evidence that this was in demand. And so they did it. You know?
Just random question. Was there a lot of remasters going on in the past year or two?
Yeah, I mean, well, you get remakes. I mean, that's a good question. I would love for some statistical company.
Because I was thinking, look at all these remakes coming out. I think we could remake ours. It's been 16 years. Why not?
Yeah, I would love for
that type of thing.
I would love for a company to go through and say, you know, out of last year, this is how many games released last year. This is how many were remakes, remasters, you know, that sort of thing. This is how many were sequels. This is how many were original IP. You know, just to kind of get an idea. I would love to see those numbers. I imagine somebody does.
That sounds like a good project. Someone could.
I ain't doing
it. Could take up. Yeah.
I ain't doing it. I don't need to do that kind of research.
I would especially be interested in the number of games that were released that were original ideas.
Right, and you would have to limit your survey, because I can tell you looking at Steam, I can tell you looking at all other kind of different storefronts that there is a crap ton of people making games out of their house that probably shouldn't be included.
Yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. Seriously, if you go through on Steam and look at new releases, and include all, you're going to see some janky new releases from companies that only have one release under their belt and that's it. You know?
Yeah.
And some that are just kind of like, God, that looks horrible, you know, or that.
How did you make it on the storefront?
And I understand that I'm not trying to judge it on how it looks or anything like that. I'm just saying the games that they're making are games that are going to pull in. I don't know. Because I don't buy these games to play them. Is there more monetary opportunity inside the game once you buy it? That sort of thing. I don't know. There's a lot of crap out there, is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So I would just take it as go through your major studio publishers, go through your more well-known indie publishers, you know, stuff like that, and kind of look at that. And you're right. I know, AC Wraith, making games in your house isn't uncommon even for veterans anymore. Do we have time? Yeah, we got time. I'm going to Steam's front page. Because the best way is to give you examples, right? Mm. So let me scroll down and go to, let's see, new and trending. There's a game called Lust Galaxy. which is a very adult game. $6. Then there's, oh goodness, I won't even tell you what that game is, but my God, another very adult game. $5 for that one.
And you're in trending.
I'm in new and trending. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah. And if you go to see more new releases, and then like you can see the full list type of thing. Let's see. This says popular new releases. Let's just go to new releases. Here's a game called Homeless for $7. Adventure action FPS 3D. Here's a game called Secret Number Simulator. I don't know what that is. A game called Popcorn. It's a clicker game. So, there's a game called Lost in the Mind looks kind of cool. A game called A Smoker's Story. I don't know what that is. Immersive sim. It's also VR. Wolf Hero. Animals versus Robots. Pack Everything You Can. It's a puzzle game. You run across Balatro clones. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Clone games.
Pack Everything sounds like a clone of Katamari Damacy.
It actually there is. It's not a clone of a game, but it is a inventory management game. Mm-hmm. Kind of like you did in Resident Evil, where you had to figure out where my rifle goes here, but I have to turn it horizontal instead of vertical because I don't have the room. So it's a lot like that.
Okay.
But a lot of clone type games that, hey, I see this is popular. I'm going to make my own that's very close to it, but enough that I'm not going to get flagged for copyright and sell it that way. So, yeah, I mean, if you were to include these, you would the numbers would skew so high for independent releases. And so I would think you would have to have some sort of metric in order to include them. Like they would have to have sold this many copies in order to get included. It wouldn't have to be much.
Yeah.
Because it's an indie title. But you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, because there's just a lot of junk that exists. And yes, there are a lot of legitimate people making games out of their houses, but there's also a lot of legitimate cash grabbers who are putting in the lowest effort to get the biggest result. And I'm not saying that they necessarily shouldn't be included. I'm just saying that if we're going to do this, you're probably going to need to have some sort of cutoff as to what you count as a release, as a game, that sort of thing. So nobody's actually going to do this. So, but it does make me curious. What was new IP? What was remakes, remasters, and what was sequels? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was based on an existing franchise? So, very curious about that. The world may never know, as they say. So. We got a lot of news to cover as far as, well, we're talking about Braid and having bad sales. Well, that's an indie company that, may not survive. And so there's another one, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 news articles on Bungie. Problem with this is that I just have not been paying attention to Bungie. I can't play their game. So I really haven't been paying attention to them.
Out of sight, out of mind.
I did there for a while just to be like, hey, how things going? And then I just kind of stopped after a while. And when Final Shape released, I really didn't follow a lot of that. It got some good reviews that I understand, but I'm not as tuned in to that atmosphere as I used to be, to that ecosystem and economy or whatever. I'm not as tuned into that as I used to be. So I'm not sure what the weight on this is. However, I jumped back into my clan Discord that I used to, or that we still have. I mean, they're still playing that game. Mm-hmm. My entire clan is. I just can't do it with them. And they were talking about this, and there's a lot of concern, a lot of, some sad thoughts with what's going on with the company. But yeah. So anyway, we're going to dive into that when we come back with in-game chat. We got music here from a game called Crow Country. And the name of this track is called Haunted Hilltop. I know. It's August right now, right? So we're getting closer and closer to October when we do all spooky music for the show. We'll be right back with more of In-Game Chat after this. Spooky music. Welcome back into In-Game Chat. This is music from another game that's not doing too well, or at least according to the Steam page is not doing too well. Homeworld 3. This name of this track is Incarnate Onslaught is the name of it. I say the names of the tracks just in case you're trying to look for, maybe you know the game, or maybe you hear the game and you want to know what, you like that piece of music. So I give you the track name if you need it.
Yeah. Besides, a lot of video game soundtracks out on YouTube and things like that. You can look at
this is where I get them from. It's from YouTube.
You can just listen to the whole soundtrack to a game nowadays.
I heard another one come up. Yesterday afternoon I was working on I do a segment during the week on the show called Random Facts, and it's like 11 random facts that I do. Mm-hmm. And I pull these from Reddit, and I'm absolutely upfront and clear about it. It may sound like I'm just like I know these things, but I don't. I pull them from Reddit. Mm-hmm. There's a fantastic and fascinating subreddit on Reddit called Today I Learned, and that is where I get all of my random facts. But I bank all of these in the event that, and I did this because it was whatever when I had COVID and everything. Mm. I go through and I just bank a bunch of them. Every 2 weeks I sit down in front of the computer and I go through the Today I Learned, and I just go through and find a bunch, and go through it. Anyway, yesterday I put on headphones and listen to music while I do it. And one of the things that came up was Deus Ex soundtrack. Hmm. I'm drawing a blank on what that not the most recent, the one that was released, kind of, that wasn't really a remake, but it was a sequel. Mm-hmm. But it was done, modernized or whatever. Deus Ex...
Ex Machina?
God, what is it called? Human Evolution or Mankind... yeah, maybe. Maybe it's Mankind Divided. Whatever. It had a subtitle. Great game, by the way. I don't know about the sequel, how well it did, but the first one was great. Anyway, that soundtrack came up, and I was like, this is nice. Had a very Tron-like score that I really enjoyed. So, anyway, that was from Homeworld 3, another game that's not doing too well. Just before we jump in, I want to go back to the indie game things. A buddy of mine, Jason Cooper, is out of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. He is working on a video game. He is working on building a game from scratch, ground up, going through it, code and everything else that he's doing. True indie. We were talking about people who make games out of their house, and he absolutely is a dude that's making a game out of his house. It's not released yet, or I don't know where it is on the scale of being released, but we are definitely going to have him on to talk about making a game by yourself, or even if it's just by yourself or with a couple of buddies, learning to make the game and that sort of thing. So yeah, I wanted to mention that. Again, I'm not diminishing people who make games out of their house. It's absolutely a legitimate thing to do. I was just saying that there are a lot of games that get released because Steam will allow you to put them. You don't have to go through a publisher. You can just put your game up on Steam. There's probably some certain requirement that has to be done for it to get up there, but looking through there, the bar's not high. So it's kind of like Amazon. You can put your book, like you can write a book without any kind of a publisher and get it on Amazon, and people can pay you and read it. So yeah, same thing with the game. So yeah, we'll be having him on. Interesting that the music that you hear before the show, if you ever tune in before we actually start, before the 4:00 hour hits, if you ever tune in at that time when we start streaming and before 4:00 hits, you'll hear video game music take out the show that's prior to us and lead into ours. It's random every time I do it. There's a thing that I put in there that has a bunch of different tracks in it, and it just scrolls through it every time I post. Every time it comes in, it's like, all right, picking the next one on the list, and it does that. Today's, it happened to be Halo, which is interesting because that's a Bungie studio game, and we were going to talk about that. Bungie went through some, I would say, reorganization, but it seems like it's a lot more than that. Yeah, Bungie had to lay off about, was it 200 people or was it 220 staff? This is not a big studio to begin with. I think there was 1,000 some odd people. They're down to like 800 people, which is still a lot. Not much in a studio that's cranking out a game like Destiny 2.
Yeah.
And working on other seriously AAA titles. Your AAA titles, like your God of Wars and your, what's another big one? Well, your Halos, but your big titles.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah. You're talking
Last of Us.
You're talking a good chunk of people, usually multiple studios across. You take an Assassin's Creed. Ubisoft has studios in Montreal, in
Europe.
Yeah, I mean, they're all over.
They're all over the place.
There's a ton of different Ubisoft studios.
Your studio does this, your studio does that, and when it's all said and done, we'll all pool our resources and together make one single
Exactly.
title.
Like, you're going to work on this aspect of the game. When it's done, I need you to send it over to this studio because they're going to take what you've done and incorporate it into the aspect that they're working on.
Yeah.
And then they're going to take all of that and move it to the other studio who's been working on this aspect of the game, and they're going to combine that. And it's a lot of hands working on a lot of things. So to say that a game company is down to 800 some odd people it's a big cut. It's a big cutback. It's the knives again. There's some infomercial, like there's two TVs in here. One TV has the shots of our video feed on there, and then the other TV is usually whatever is on our local affiliate for whatever channel it is.
Yep.
And apparently at 5:00 in the afternoon, they run some infomercial, and they're selling 500 knives.
Yeah.
It's a massive display. And I just happened to look, and it was a wrench. Seriously, it was a wrench.
The rainbow wrench.
Yeah, that you could flip a knife out of. And I was like, why? But, everybody needs a wrench and a knife at times. So here we go. Destiny 2 developer Bungie has announced plans to lay off 220 staff. They will then integrate 155 of its remaining job roles into Sony Interactive Entertainment and then pass work on one of its incubation projects to a freshly formed PlayStation studio. Sony owns Bungie, although at the time when they were doing this, they said, look, Bungie's going to remain doing what Bungie's going to do, and Sony is not going to get involved. Mm-hmm. Although there was that caveat that if sales continue to slide, and we were never given any kind of a, the level they have to go under in order for Sony to take over. We were never given that number.
Yeah, we knew from the get-go. Sony, they said they weren't going to interfere, but we said if the money ain't right, they will interfere. So,
and they have absolutely. Well, I say they've done that. I don't really know what's going to happen. It's laid out in a new blog post that was penned by Pete Parsons, who is the CEO of Bungie. He called it the most difficult changes we have ever had to make as a studio. I'm still quoting him, due to rising cost of development and industry shifts, as well as enduring economic conditions, he continued, it has become clear that we need to make substantial changes to our cost structure and focus development efforts entirely on Destiny and their latest game, Marathon. They were working on something else. A lot of people thought that was maybe Destiny 3, and turns out I guess it wasn't. The 220 staff being laid off amount to roughly 17% of the studio's workforce. Parsons stating that they'll include executive and senior leader roles, and in fact, they did. Two senior executives by the name of Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy. They were senior executives at Bungie. They were both part of the recent round of layoffs. They were working on a game called Payback, which would be a new game set in the Destiny universe. However, that game has now been canceled. It was not going to be Destiny 3. It was just going to be a game that was set in that universe. But they are no longer at Bungie. They were let go. They were caught in the executive and leadership shakeup, and Payback has been shelved. Sources have clarified that their departure came as the Payback project was shut down, after which executive restructuring meant that they had no path forward at Bungie. They're like, there's no place we can put you here. Mm-hmm. Which, honestly, outside of Pete Parsons, they were probably the biggest paychecks to let go of. Like, the amount of money that we're going to save by getting rid of these two guys is going to be substantial. Without getting rid of these two guys, we were going to have to let go of even more employees. I'm not saying that they were sacrificial in that regard, but I imagine that that's how this whole decision-making worked. Yeah. It's like...
The numbers game.
Yeah. If we get down to this many employees, there's no way that we can carry on with Destiny and with Marathon. Mm-hmm. However, our budget only allows for this much. So we've got to figure out who we got to cut to fit this in here. So, Smith was executive director. Luke Smith was executive director at Bungie and became a notable public-facing representative for the studio, guiding the narrative of Destiny 2 back to a place that excited fans and more clearly set up a long-term story for the sci-fi shooter. Noseworthy was vice president of the Destiny universe and responsible for the overall strategy of Destiny as an intellectual property and a business. They are now gone. It has become clear we can't do this. As part of the layoff, it was confirmed that Bungie is working on the brand new game. It is not Destiny 3 or Payback, by the way. They are working on something new. Instead, this new sci-fi project will be developed at a new internal studio, which is being set up with PlayStation, so Sony will be all over that one. The final Shape expansion that released back in June, I believe, which was positively received by fans, it apparently did not sell well. According to another article, it says it didn't matter whether the final Shape expansion delivered a blockbuster performance. The layoffs were in the works prior to the release and could not be avoided. So it didn't matter how well this game was going to do. This was going to happen. So, that seems odd, but I'm not in that space to know, I'm not in the business space of it. And I'm not also in the gaming space of it to know, like Well, yeah, but if it made a bunch of money, wouldn't you not have to fire people? Or was it the fact that it didn't matter how much it made, your expenses were shot in the development of it, and this was just going to be a thing that was going to happen from everything that you're working on? I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see.
Going too far over on budget, something like that could happen.
Let's see.
So
overall,
that's a heck of an overestimation if that's the case.
Yeah, overall, Bungie's headcount will be reduced from 1,300 people to 850 as a result of the changes. For over 5 years, this is a quoting Pete Parsons, for over 5 years it has been our goal to ship games in 3 enduring global franchises. To realize that ambition, we set up several incubation projects, each seeded with senior development leaders from our existing teams. We eventually realized that this model stretched our talent too thin too quickly. It also forced our studio support structures to scale to a larger level than we could realistically support, given our 2 primary products in development. Marathon, which has been teased. We got a trailer for that last year, I believe. And Destiny as well. Additionally, in 2023, our rapid expansion ran headlong into a broad economic slowdown, a sharp downturn in the games industry, our quality miss with Destiny 2 Lightfall, and the need to give both the final shape and Marathon the time needed to ensure both projects deliver at the quality our players expect and deserve. We were overly ambitious, our financial safety margins were subsequently exceeded, and we began running in the red. After this new trajectory became clear, we knew we had to change our course and our speed, and we did everything we could to avoid today's outcome, even with exhaustive efforts undertaken across our leadership and product teams to resolve our financial challenges. These steps were simply not enough. Some of the reactions we got from this news, which comes in the heels, prompted former employees and players alike to criticize Bungie's leadership. To add insult to industry, the company's CEO locked his account just as the news hit, shielding himself from flack and criticism online. In a way, I don't blame him. In one way, I don't. If there was a way that he could keep that lane of communication open for game developers, for the people that he worked with, that he had to let go, for something like that, I feel like he absolutely would have. But the internet, sometimes, I think, was a mistake. And I fall back on that feeling anytime things like this come up, and especially when it involves the fan base of Destiny. All you need to do is kind of look at some of the outlets that other people who play that game have at their disposal.
Any fan base.
Really. I'm only experienced with the Destiny fan base.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other fan bases, I guess, but I know that Destiny group. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the one, just like the Marvel Snap thing. That is something that that's a pool that I swam in for a very long time. Mm-hmm. So I was very familiar about everything going on. You want to take your comic book fandom and your other stuff. Yeah, they got them. Yeah, but I'm not as aware of it as I am with Destiny. So I get why he did it. And I'm sure there's another outlet for people to reach out to him, I suppose. But anyway. As news of Bungie's latest round of layoffs began to get around this morning, fans of the company and games industry colleagues searched for the Twitter account of Pete Parsons. Only once they found him, they realized that he had set his account to private, meaning that only pre-existing followers of Parsons could see his post and respond to him. Many took to mocking his bio, which features a call to be brave, and stated that Parsons wasn't living up to his own values. Yeah, possibly. It says, some of these people are saying, coward, you did this, you chose this. I'm already listed as do not work with, and I don't care anymore. You lied to my face. Straight to it. You also invited me to come see your new cars 2 days before you laid me off. There's a word in between that. Yeah. Days. Leave. Now. All right. I understand. Okay, so yeah, there's that. Then there's that aspect of it. There is the people you let go. especially depending on how this went about, that are going to want to do that. That I don't have a problem with. It's the fans who want to throw in their 2 cents on this. You know, it's the players. It's that community. They're the ones who are like, look, shut up and go play the game. Let these people who just lost their jobs lash out if they want verbally to this guy. Let them have that. Let them do that. So in that aspect, I don't agree with him locking his account. He should be held accountable, especially for something where, and I get it, it's business, I suppose, that you apparently can't give somebody a heads up that they're going to be, and the fact that so there's this other aspect going around. Pete got a nice big chunk of change whenever Sony bought Bungie.
Yeah.
A big amount of money. And someone was able to find his username on a car auction site and was able to confirm that it is actually him, and could see a number of vehicle purchases that had been made. And then, you get something like this where somebody says that, you invited me out to come look at your cars, your cars that you had just bought, knowing in your head, that, 2 days from now, this person's, I'm letting go of this person.
Yeah.
So I'm looking through more of these. Since then, Parsons, likely reacting to criticisms he was already receiving, has unlocked his account. Despite the gesture, he hasn't said anything about the layoffs and has only shared the blog post via the official Bungie Twitter account. Coming off the news, disgruntled former employees, fans of Bungie, and voices from around the games industry are now calling for Parsons to take further accountability and step down. Okay. Now, also, to be clear, I have not read all 10 articles of this whole thing. So if there's more in there as to like his leadership and everything, then there possibly could be. I don't want to agree or disagree with any of those statements because I don't know enough about what has gone on to be able to do that. Griffin Bennett, a developer who'd been with Bungie from 2018 until the 2023 layoffs, because they laid off people last year too, responded to the announcement by calling out Parsons by name and demanding he quit, calling him a joke. Wow. Poor leadership has crushed one of the greatest developers of all time. Retire, Pete. Man. This guy says, if I had a nickel for every time I was laid off from a studio I had dreamed to work at, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. And that comes from Daryl Nelson on Twitter. I know you get your dream job at a company you really want to work at, and then you get laid off from that job. You probably know at this point, I mean, the games industry is not stable at the moment, and I'm not exactly sure when it ever was. Especially the further we get into it. I don't know how stable it was back in the 8-bit, 16-bit days. I have no idea. I didn't follow that stuff. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have the internet to kind of get all of this information. We didn't have ways for people to express their opinion or drop some facts through like Twitter or blogs or anything like that. It just wasn't around way back when. So it feels like maybe it didn't happen back then. I imagine it did, but maybe it didn't. I don't know. But that is, yeah. Here's somebody else who worked at Bungie. I didn't even tweet that I got promoted last month, but now I get to tweet that I got laid off. Yeah. I'm one of the affected. I'm still processing at the moment. I'm supposed to be on paid time off today, so I found out from Twitter and friends messaging me. There's a kicker.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I took a quick vacation, or I got some time off, or I'm sick, or something like that. Oh, I also don't have a job to go back to. I was affected by layoffs today. I can't explain how soul-crushing it is to have poured my life and soul into a game that has kept me on this planet in the first place, but Bungie had other plans for me. I'm looking for opportunities in the QA space with years of experience.
Is that how firings work now?
What?
Not face to face, just through Twitter or things like that?
I would say so, yeah. In some ways, I would say so. It depends on how many you're going to do that to. You know? There's also ways that you can do it where you bring in everybody, sit down, you have a talk, and you're like, hey, you're going to be, this is it. It's your last day. Yeah. And there are studios that have closed like that. Mm-hmm. There are studios that have brought their entire team into a room and said, today is our last day of operation.
Yeah, it was just something I was thinking about because of the firings I hear about. It's always like something through a tweet or something of that nature through some intermediary thing, not like a face-to-face.
Well, usually what happens is that news outlets catch wind of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so they've got to quickly, usually you would have something planned, like we've got this thing written that we're going to send to our staff. Mm-hmm. Some people don't get around to checking their email in time, or some people, like you said, was paid time off. Maybe he just wasn't worried about the email, and then he starts getting rumors and noises, and he starts hearing things of like rumblings of what's happening. Mm-hmm. Kind of goes through a wave. Yeah. Honestly, I don't work there. I don't know if they did anything like that. The way tweets come off, and especially the way tweets come off in the gaming industry, is that a lot of people don't get some kind of mass email of, thanks for your service, you're no longer required. It is something that is sent out as a PR statement. What do they call them? Not a news release, but something like that. A press release. That's what it's called. They send it out as a press release for news outlets to run, and then everybody else is catching up with like, what? And then they check and say, am I part of, oh my God, I am, because they don't know. There was one that was, oh God, it was horrible. She was due to have maternity leave in like a week,
Yeah.
And was going to get the maternity benefits and everything else, but she can't now. It's done. Like, she even reached out to him and said, can I still please get that maternity leave? Because now, like, you're about to have a baby. That was going to secure things. And there's no way that you can go around looking for a job when you're about to take maternity leave to go do that. You just can't. And so now it's just, oh, man. One of the guys that I think he still works there. He quit and then he came back. He was like a community manager, I believe. Mm-hmm. I asked some of the guys from the clan, I was like, if you guys want to come on and talk about this, but there was nobody available. He tweeted out and said, this is inexcusable. Industry-leading talent being lost yet again. Accountability failing upon the workers who have pushed the needle to deliver for our community time and time again. Please maintain focus on those who've lost their position and income and offer help where you can. In other words, stop lashing out at Bungie and say, you're bad. No. Go to the people who lost the jobs. See what you can do to help. Either help them to find the work, help them to get through to the next work that they can, whatever. Try and help them out. Instead of throwing in why did this happen? Well, here's how you could have, a lot of people love to do some armchair businessing whenever these things come around. To say, well, if they'd have done this, they'd be okay. Or if they had let go of this, it's like, you're not there, you don't know. So, yeah. I'm looking over there's a whole bunch of tweets. There's a lot of people who really, and who are not fond of Pete Parsons, and maybe his leadership has something to do with it. Possibly, I don't know. But it was this, or it was even worse. Mm-hmm. It was, we don't lay these people off, and then the studio just runs out of money, and everybody's out of a job.
Yeah.
This says hot take, but I think if you mismanage your company so bad that you have to let 220 people go, then maybe you should be one of them. And again, I'm not going to agree or disagree with that because I don't know enough to know this. Mm-hmm. A writer from Forbes Paul Tossi, who plays a lot of Destiny and writes a lot about Destiny in Forbes, says that if an executive team has had to lay off around 350 people in a year, because this is on top of the people they laid off last year too,
yeah,
then perhaps you and not them are the problem. So somebody else says, either Pete Parsons' work as CEO is valuable enough to warrant his paycheck, in which case he has catastrophically failed at his job with this and should be laid off, or it isn't valuable enough to warrant his paycheck and he should not be employed. Yeah, it's a bunch of stuff. Aletha Migraine says, not sure what Sony was expecting. Xbox didn't want to keep Bungie. Activision didn't want to keep Bungie. And we all know what a dumpster fire Activision was. Sony did a terrible job vetting and overpaid for a lousy studio because of the Activision purchase by Microsoft. Regardless of that, regardless of everything you just said there, Lethal Migraine, I think Sony... I was going to say I think Sony knew what they were doing, but the more I think about it right there before I said that, I'm actually not sure.
Seemed like a jump the gun response.
I'm not sure.
We have to acquire a big studio right now,
but why Bungie?
Yeah.
Like what was their end goal on this? You know, a lot of there was especially when it first happened, a lot of speculation about, because we just mentioned that Sony had mandated that, look, if sales drop, you know, if sales aren't good enough, you can remain independent, you can remain doing your thing, but if sales aren't good enough, we're going to step in.
We're stepping in, yeah.
And while CEOs and everybody at Bungie may have known what that value was or what that number was, what that line was that they had to stay above, none of us know. And if they didn't know what that line was, then I think Sony's plan at the very beginning was, this is what we're going to tell them, but eventually we're taking over.
Taking over, yeah.
Regardless of how this goes, we're taking over. You know, we bought your name. We're going to apply it to games, and, you know, we're only going to bring the people along to work on the one game or this or, you know, whatever the case may be. I don't know. And I don't know where this puts Destiny, by the way. They are done with expansions. They're releasing episodic content now, I believe. I'm not exactly sure. But I don't know where this leaves them as far as your players and the content and everything else, because I don't see, without any more expansions, without doing anything more for Destiny and the story or doing something to continue to bring players back, I don't see that being a powerhouse for them. You know what I'm saying? I don't see that being something that makes money.
Yeah.
Not like it did, because if you're not going to release any more expansions, then there is no big push to bring in players or to bring back players. We have a guy in our clan who doesn't play much, but usually when an expansion would release, he'd come back to it and play for a bit. Mm-hmm. He'd buy the expansion, he'd come back, and he'd put a little time into it. But that's not there anymore. And there were a lot of people like him who played the game, not like I did, but played the game, and and they would go through it, and when the next expansion released, they'd pick it up and they'd go through the story of that expansion, they'd play it.
Yeah.
That's not there anymore. Yeah.
So it's not a Destiny 3, we're not interested.
Apparently not. They were doing something that was going to be in the Destiny universe.
Yeah.
And God willing, I'd have been able to jump into that, because apparently I'm only banned from Destiny 2. So as long as Destiny 2 is done stuff with, I can't play it. If it was Destiny 3 or the payback thing or whatever else, I'm in.
Yeah, what did that article say? Not Destiny 3?
That said payback would not be Destiny 3, but it was going to take place in that Destiny universe. Yeah. So I would be familiar with the settings, the characters, things like that. But
so yeah, I'm thinking, if you're a Destiny fan, are you interested in a Destiny side story, or you want?
I would go back. I depending on what payback was going to be or what that was supposed to be, something set in that universe. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily know. I would probably come back for that, depending. I don't know what they would have made it. Mm-hmm. In other words, I don't know. Was it a kart racer? You know what I'm saying? I know it's not, but you know what I'm saying? What type of game is it?
Yeah, I mean, there was plenty of interesting stories that I thought in the lore of the game that would have been interesting, could have been fleshed out. But if it's nothing that's going to pique a Destiny player's interest, I mean, what's the point?
I think anything that would have involved Destiny itself would pique a Destiny fan's interest. depending on what it is. Again, that I don't know what style of game it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
It was just supposed to be set in that universe. And so, again, like Marvel Snap, I'm familiar with the characters. I'm not a card game guy, but I'm familiar with the characters enough that holds me, you know?
Yeah.
And so a game like that, I'm familiar with the universe, so that would hold me to play it, depending. But it would also matter if it's a cooperative type thing. Like if I can't join my clan back up and play with them in that universe, I probably wouldn't play it.
A prequel?
That'd be fun. Well, you could do that,
A
but
prequel featuring what I was saying. Like
if you're doing a prequel, especially with the way the lore is, if you're doing a prequel, then there's a certain amount of things that come with what Destiny is because of where it starts in that story. And if you go before that, a lot of that is not there. You know, and it depends on what you want to, how
How far back do I want to go?
Yeah, what is a prequel to you? You know, how far back do you want to go with that?
Anything before Destiny 2, I guess.
Well, not necessarily that. I'm thinking I'm thinking lore-wise. Before the Traveler showed up and gave us the ability to have the ghosts and to have our technology advance and everything else that goes through that. Do you go prior to that? If you do, then that's where I'm saying a lot of what we got happened because of where that story starts in Destiny. But anyway, this is getting into the weeds as it always does, because I would talk about this forever. We got music here. We'll come back and talk about more layoffs. Well, I say more layoffs, but it's something Bama Brian mentioned in the chat room there. Yep, Game Informer. Here is music from a game called Balladins. The name of the track is called Mercazian, I think. Mercazian? Anyway, we'll be back with more of In-Game Chat right after this. I know I clicked on that. Maybe we should come back. Hey.
That'd be a good idea.
I didn't realize that the song was very short. That was music from Animal Well, by the way, which I think that's a game I have that I have not played.
You got it.
Yeah, I should look into it and play it, actually.
Yeah,
Looking for things to play.
The backlog you have?
Yeah,
on
of
Steam?
course.
Yeah. What,
Of course.
Triple digits?
Easily.
Close to 1,000?
Easily. Maybe not close to 1,000, but I would say over 500.
Over 500, yeah.
Yeah. Is there where can you look at that? Is there a way to look at that? Yeah, I'll look at it later.
Yeah.
Because we don't have much time. And I wanted to hit this thing about Game Informer.
Game Informer, yes.
The longest running video game magazine in the United States is officially dead. And according to this article from Kotaku, GameStop killed it. It began publishing in 1991 and has been one of the last remaining physical gaming magazines in the world. With cover stories that continue to share deep dives and exclusive interviews on the biggest games coming out. And now it is no more. Staff at the magazine, which also publishes a website, weekly podcast, and online video documentaries about game studios and developers, were all called into a meeting on Friday with the parent company, GameStop's VP of HR. So we were talking about how this happens.
How firings happen. Was it face-to-face or was it a Zoom call?
Yeah, like that. They were. Yeah. It says they were called into a meeting, but I don't necessarily know if that means that they were called into a physical space. As much as it wasn't like, hey, call this number and join the meeting, or join us on Zoom, whatever.
Well, it's going to probably a Zoom meeting or something.
In it, they were told the publication was closing immediately. They were all laid off and would begin receiving severance terms. Well, that's nice, at least. At least one staffer was in the middle of a work trip when the team was told. The sudden closure of Game Informer means that issue number 367, the one that has the Dragon Age Veilguard cover story, will be the last. The entire website has been taken offline as well. The Game Informer Twitter account posted the following statement online today, but sources tell Kotaku it was not written by anyone on the team, which was still in the process of making sure that everyone on staff was informed about the news. Here is what was posted. After 33 thrilling years of bringing you the latest news, reviews, and insights from the ever-evolving world of gaming, it is with a heavy heart that we announce the closure of Game Informer. From the early days of pixelated adventures to today's immersive virtual realms, we've been honored to share this incredible journey with you, our loyal readers. While our presses may stop, the passion for gaming that we've cultivated together will continue to live. It's a really sad episode today. Thank you for being a part of our epic quest, and may your own gaming adventures never end. Let's see. Let me read some more of this. A frustrating turn of events, especially considering we were about 70% done with the next issue, and it was going to have a great cover. Tell us what it was. Game Informer said that I'm furious about the end of Game Informer. It was an incredible 33-year run, and then GameStop pumps out this phony, empty farewell message. I'd bet money that it was written by AI. After that is some really harsh language towards GameStop and Ryan Cohen, which I'm not familiar with who that is. Every URL for the Game Informer website now redirects to the official statement, erasing more than a decade of articles, reviews, and original reports. A recent in-depth feature on the retro game studio Digital Eclipse was about gaming's history and preservation as one of the stories that is no longer accessible. A write-up about Game Informer's famous Game Vault, containing releases from across its decade-long history, it's also gone now, too. So, yeah.
Ryan Cohen, CEO of GameStop.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah.
Game Informer's closure comes as GameStop CEO Ryan Cohen continues, getting into politics, apparently. In an email to the staff last year, the executive called for extreme frugality and criticized money wasters who didn't contribute to the company or its success. He's currently being sued by the former company behind Bed Bath & Beyond for $47 million in insider trading profits. Okay. Yeah, that guy's probably not a good one at all. So, yeah, Game Informer gone. I didn't really read the magazine. I used to a long time ago, and I had a subscription to it a long time ago.
Yeah.
And when I say a long time ago, I meant basically before this information became very easily accessible on the internet. Whether you had a subscription to the magazine or not, it would still get posted. The articles would get thrown up, the pictures and everything else, especially if it was a big deal, they'd throw it up there. Yeah. But no more. So, all right. So, and I hate to just jump around, but we don't have much time, and we're not doing a show next week, by the way. I don't think I opened up with that, but there is no show next week. Okay. So, want to let people know no show next week. So let me see. Xbox 360 Marketplace finally shut down. A 19-year-old storefront. This has nothing to do with layoffs or anything like that. They're just closing the store. That's all. It was an online store, and it is now gone. Ooh, there was some more stuff about that SAG-AFTRA, the video game voice actors.
Voice actors thing, yeah.
Yeah, there was some more stuff there that I wanted to get into, and I do not have time to. What else do we have? Avowed from Obsidian has been delayed from 2020 this year to early next year. Although they said there's absolutely nothing wrong with the game, it's just going to give us more time to work on it. And it was a really busy season for us releasing it where it was, and we want to have, we don't want a lot of stuff around us when we release it.
Something's wrong with the game. We don't want to compete with this title.
Possibly. I have no idea when they were planning to release and what they were going to go up against. I don't know. So, what else did we have in there? August 20th, we're getting some gameplay of Civilization 7. Prison Architect 2 has been delayed indefinitely. Somebody from Supermassive Games passed away. I don't have that article up here, but the guys who did Until Dawn and stuff, I want to say it was one of their story lead guys passed away. But the other thing was that the movie for Until Dawn that they're actually working on, the guy from the game, Peter
Stromar.
Yeah, he's going to be playing his character,
Dr. Hill,
in the movie. Which I thought, great, that's good. You got an actor to play a part in your game. Put that actor to play a part in your movie about that game.
Tony Pankhurst.
Yeah, what was he? Do you have that?
Supermassive Games has revealed that Tony Pankhurst has passed away recently at the age of 67. He was the face of the curator in the Dark Pictures anthology.
Yeah. So, what else do we have? Because we've only got about 4 minutes left. There was the THQ Nordic Showcase that took place this past week. I'm bringing this up because there were a couple of games announced. Wreckfest 2, the trailer's kind of meh. There's not a lot to see is what I'm saying. Another game called The Eternal Life of Goldman. It's a hand-drawn and hand-animated art style, pretty much stole the showcase. I need to watch that. It's an existential 2D platformer blending elements of Greek, Jewish, and Mesopotamian folktales to create a world where life, death, nightmares, and wonder collide. Okay, I'll have to check that out. I've not watched any of these. This week has been a weird week for me. Titan Quest II was shown off. Disney's Epic Mickey Rebrushed was also given some time. A remake of Gothic, the first Gothic, is getting a remake, Gothic 1. And they also teased a new Darksiders game. And then there was an unannounced game from Tarsier Studios, the developers of Little Nightmares, that was shown off. I need to go back and look at those because I didn't look at any of those. What I was disappointed in seeing was that there was absolutely nothing about... Oh no, I forgot the name. Three Fields Entertainment, who is composed of people who used to work at Criterion Entertainment, who did Burnout.
Yeah.
Rec Nation, I think is what it was called. Recreation, maybe?
It was some weird play on the words of rec.
Of rec, yeah.
It might have been that recreation.
Anyway,
it is recreation.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything more about it, and I was hoping we'd get some more. There's been nothing shown, so still waiting on that. That is going to wrap it up for us, folks. We are done. And I really appreciate everybody who has shown up in the chat room here. Let me go and see if I got time for a roll call here. Thar 6, Bama Brian 17, Drunk Degenerates, AC Wraith, being a mod that he is, Patty Cat 1986, and Sanush 123, who mentioned Fortnite. He was in there, or she was in there earlier. So anyway, thank you all for showing up every single time we do this. We really, really appreciate it. And can't wait to do it again. We're going to be, again, we're taking off next week. We'll be back the week after. And I'm going to leave you here with music from Little Kitty, Big City. You have to be careful how you say that. Little Kitty, Big City. And the track is called It's a Great Day to Be a Cat. You guys have a fantastic weekend and a fantastic 2 weeks. We'll see you not next Saturday, but the Saturday after.